What's going on, all you gamers? Today we're back with some more Evil Dead the game. What we're covering today is this fella right here and Ash from Evil Dead 2, and we're going to be going over his build guide. So if that interests you, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back, you guys and girls, as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. I'll bring you the latest and greatest content, hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and reviews of upcoming games. But for today, we're back with another Evil Dead the game build, and for today I'll be going over this fella right here, the Hunter Ash. He does an abundance of damage. Now we've just got to make sure we have a lot of fun while we do it. Right, so jumping straight into his skill tree, and what I'm going to do before I go over that, I'm going to go over his abilities and why you'll be using them or how you'll be using them. So if we jump straight over to Exorcist, this right here is going to be your go-to move if someone in your team's getting possessed. You're going to use this and it's going to kick him straight at, and it means that he's kind of wasted his energy as a demon, and it's really going to help your team out. However, if it's a boss unit or it's an elite, it won't quite do the same. If they've taken over a basic, it's going to do the same, it's going to kick them straight at, but with the others it's just going to take off a little bit of infernal energy. As you can see down the bottom there, it's a 60-second cooldown, and it will take off 15% from the elites and from the boss units. Use this sparingly, as it can definitely save your team, but I also found because this fella does quite high damage, and because basically they know he's got this skill, a lot of times he'll be the one they're focusing on, so we've tried to reduce his fear throughout our skill tree. Next up, and we've got Treasure Hunter. This guy is, there's no way around it. Even if I spec'd into health, which I have tried, he's very squishy. Very, very squishy. So what you want to do is use this to your advantage. Run around with your team, try and find the houses fast, and look for those crates. That way you'll be able to get the pink stuff, and you can probably chuck it straight into your health at first, which will make things a little bit easier, and it'll mean you won't fall over anywhere near as fast. Chuck your pink stuff into his damage from ranged, health, and of course with a little bit of fear reduction will definitely help this character, and you should be golden. If you can get something to shield as well, that will be perfect. Next up, I'm the guy with the double barrel. Now, I did not enjoy using this. I really didn't enjoy using this. When I first started with this character, I completely changed off of him and started using other characters. I really couldn't get on with this gun. But now that I've got used to it, it's one of my favourites in the game. It has 4 shots in it. It's not bad with this character whatsoever because he has his last perk. Until that, it's a little bit of a liability. But with his last perk, it makes it an absolutely amazing gun to have. The only thing I wish there was something in the skill tree that would mean you could have some kind of reduction to your reload speed. Because that one right there can be a bit of a kicker sometimes. But you can't have anything. Stick with this. If you can upgrade it to different rarities, you are going to get some ridiculously good damage, and you're going to have a lot of fun while you're doing it. But say for example you had a white version of the double barreled, if a purple or a gold, say for example a boomstick dropped, you wouldn't stick with the white, go with the highest damage, and you're going to be golden with this build. Last but definitely not least, like I said, Weapon Master Double Barrel. The double barrel has a faster attack speed and deals increased health, balance bar and dismemberment damage, meaning you can knock arms off, you can do crazy headshot damage numbers, you can do balance bar damage. It kind of does everything. Like I said though, I wish it definitely had that reload speed, because then he would be absolutely amazing. Now jumping over to the skill tree, and we're starting it off with Longshot. I would have liked to have put a little bit more into this, but ultimately I found this still worked perfect, as a lot of times I was fighting pretty close range to medium range and not really taking shots that long, so 5% worked out absolutely fine. Jumping over to this, you're playing the ranged class, you're a hunter, make sure you dish out a lot of damage. Anyone who's telling you not to dish out damage as a hunter because you can wipe your team is... I don't know what they're kind of trying to do with the build, because the whole point of having a hunter is to take out those elites, take out the kind of boss units as fast as possible. That's pretty much your main job. You have to find another way in order to not wipe your team, and with us that's because we're going to reduce it with fear and such. Make sure you dish out that damage, make sure you have a lot of fun with those headshots, and pretty much everything will fall over once you take that shot. Next up then, we've got Divide and Conquer. Increases dismemberment damage of ranged weapons. This can actually be a bit of fun. It can knock off enemies' arms and such, but it's not what we're going for. You want to try and aim for that headshot whenever you can. But we needed to get over to these last two, so we're kicking it off with Surgical Strike, which is spread reduction 35%. I've used this because we have got a shotty. It does kind of have multiple pellets. You want to make sure that everything's hitting your target and you want to have as much damage kicking in. This way it's going to hit what you aim for, and it just means you're going to get some crazy numbers. Last on this line, and we've got Wig Splitter. The 25% damage from this is significant, and it means you can take out elites. You can pretty much take out bosses as well very, very fast. You get 4 shots in this gun. It's enough to wipe the floor with pretty much everything, as long as you've got some good accuracy about yourself and you're not getting completely overwhelmed by enemies. Jumping down to this one right here, and we've got Fear No Evil. Like I said, this guy is an absolute magnet. I found that probably his biggest drawback, one, he's squishy as hell. Even if you spec all the way over to here and put in your strength and put in industrial strength all the way to 3, it doesn't stop the fact that if you're in a bad team or if you're being completely focused without anyone helping you, you're gonna fall over. There's not too much you can do about that. Having this really helps out though, because you do not want to be the one that's being possessed. 20% negation to fear means that you hopefully should be able to get to those fires in time. You should be able to have your fear levels going up significantly less, and you'll want to make sure that you're not the one that gets taken over every single time, because you will dish out a lot of damage with this build. Bopping straight down from there, and you've got Staying Power. This gives 10% maximum stamina. You are all about stamina as a hunter. In pretty much every build you're going to want a bit of extra stamina, or you're going to want some way of just being able to dodge, because you're not a warrior. You're not supposed to be tanking, you're not supposed to be staying in the fight and kind of doing melee over and over again. You're supposed to have a little bit of range, you're supposed to have a little bit of distance between yourself, even if it's not the most. Enough to make sure that you're not going to get one shot or not going to get overwhelmed by an absolute abundance of basic enemies. Jumping down from there, and we've got Artful Dodger. This reduces the stamina cost of dodging. Absolutely vital in this build. Without this, you're going to get hit. You're just going to get hit. So make sure you invest in this. If something's coming towards you and you want to get out of the way, just do a little dodge, and then you can always go in, knock off its balance bar, and then go into an execute. That will give you enough time to move away the distance you want, or you can just do light attacks and finish it off with a few finishers. Either or works absolutely perfect. But having this stamina cost reduction I found was pretty much essential in this build, otherwise you're just going to get hit by everything, overwhelmed, and like I said, you haven't got much health about yourself, so you're definitely not going to survive long. Just up here, and I've got Deadly Up and Close. Now if you're wondering why I haven't put it up here, I found that this was more of an uh-oh moment, or a moment I could take advantage of. If I put it up here, it would mean I could get up to 15% damage when they're further than 10 meters. That is really good, there's no two ways about it, but with this I found this was my, right, something's going to get me, I need to make sure it's not going to get to me, see you later. It's gone, I've took the headshot, the elites fell over, basics fell over, even your bosses. If you've got a nice weapon, a few shots from this gun will make even a boss fall over. It is that powerful with this build. And jumping straight into that as well is the Last Chance. Increases the damage dealt by the last bullet in a gun. Like I said, stopping power, that's what this guy's all about. What you need to make sure of though is you're not the one who's stopping your team. And by that I mean hunters, if anyone has played them, will know if they're getting possessed a lot, especially if you have got a ridiculously strong weapon. So say for example I had the double barrel and it was the gold variant, I would almost definitely be able to 1 or 2 or maybe 3 shot, depending on their build, pretty much everyone in my team. If you get a headshot off, they're just gonna fall over. It is literally that devastating. Hunters are the best damage dealers in the game, but they're also a double-edged blade, if you could call it a double-edged blade when they shoot bullets, because they do dish out so much damage, the demons like to take them over. We've got the reduced fear up here, and like I said, you're going to want to make sure that you're in a good team that just knows what they're doing. Most of the time, if you are getting completely wiped, it may well not even be down to yourself, it may just be down to your team composition and the fact that you all run around kind of separate. With this fella, you're going to want to stick with everyone as much as possible. You're going to want to be the one highlighting all of the chests, making sure that everyone knows where they are, picking up the pink stuff, chuck it into your health. chuck it into your ranged damage, and of course chuck it into your fear, and you should be pretty much golden. If however you are struggling and you are getting taken over, especially if they're focusing on you to try and raise your fear levels and such, what you can always do as a hunter, just remember, click straight into your inventory. If you think you're about to be possessed, drop your ranged weapon on the floor. Anyone that tells you not to do damage as a kind of hunter because you can wipe your team, it's not anything you can do. If you're trying to play a class that's all about dealing damage and you're finding ways to not deal any damage, it's not going to work out well for yourself. Like I said, I've tried up here, I've gone all the way along, I've grabbed the extra health, I've gone down to the melee, but ultimately these don't help you out. If you're worried and if you're being overwhelmed by things, don't forget you can always pick up something like a shovel or even a sledgehammer, something with a lot of balance bar damage. That way you go into a light attack and then you can go into your finisher in order to gain some distance. Move back from there and you're going to be good to go. Usually your light attacks use a lot of balance bar damage, and even if you wanted to kill them with melee, you very well can after 2 or 3 hits. This guy is kind of the all-around package, as he's got a nice little support ability over here and he's got a lot of stopping power. He's going to be the guy that takes out the big enemies. What you want to do, if you can and you're with a team, most times you're going to want to make sure you've got some support around him. He's very squishy. Most times you're winning because you have a great team setup. If you have this girl here, Annie Nobi, if you have a little look, and activated, the skill increases range damage from Annie and any teammates who are near her. This is going to give you 100% extra range damage. Everything is going to fall over. 100%, no doubt about it. With your standard gun even, it's going to take out pretty much everything. But if you can upgrade, of course it's going to do even better. At late game, she also gives this right here, which is balance bar damage to pretty much all of her teammates, and again to those elites and to those boss units. Her and pretty much anyone at the moment is an absolute devastating force. Again, if you can grab a Cheryl or even a Pablo, it will work out perfect as well. Cheryl, in my opinion, is still, even after a slight adjustment or nerf if you want to call it, still one of the most vital kind of characters in the game, because she's going to be the one that's going to heal you up if you've got no sodas and such. Remember, if you've fallen over a lot, sometimes it may not be down to you, it may just be down to your team composition or the fact that you're all kind of playing a little bit solo. But like I said, if you're after a really high damage, a lot of fun build to play, this is going to be the fella for you. Well, you gamers, hopefully that's helped a few of you out. As always, 4Things Gaming, 4Things Xbox. Take care, I'll see you on the next day.